All right, fantastic.
Oh no.
What was that? Somebody's got, can I,
No, the Fed hike rates again. That's all.
oh,
By
somebody,
75
oh,
basis points. That's all. Sorry.
oh, gotcha. No problem at all. No problem at all. I'm gonna see if I can just get me on here. I don't know why I'm not able to show thumbnails. I should be. I don't know why. Oh well. Oop. Make sure I can get everybody. Okay. So welcome. I can't believe it. It's my first time I've been teaching in so long. I'm so excited. Thank you all for joining me. I still can't seem to, I'll figure it out. Never mind. I guess I'm not on the screen today. Oh, well, no big deal. You guys can hear me more than you need to see me anyway. So we'll figure it all out. I don't know why I'm not able to see myself on here.
But we can see
can you see me?
You and the screen and the your graphic. Yeah.
Okay, you can see me. Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so okay, because all I can see.
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay. All right. So let's get started here. Whew, I am so excited to do this. Like I said, I have not done this in so long. I'm so excited. So forgive me if I stumble, but I trust that you guys will all have your, be patient with me. Okay, today we're talking about like one of my favorite things ever, content. But what I want to do is I want to focus on being focused. And as I was creating this workshop for today, as I had shared with Kate earlier, this was some of the things that I have shared with you guys all in the past, but I'm expanding upon this. And then as I was moving through this, I kept creating content and then deleting it, creating content and deleting this. And I'll get to this in a little bit, but I want to tell you that this is going to turn into a monthly type of thing. Cooper. Sorry, my dog. If you see me, you might see a little black nose right now coming up right now as well. So today we're going to talk about some questions to help you find your focus with your content plan. What I want to do is I'm going to break down the content system that I created. I did a 30-day Create Better Content Challenge on Instagram back in May. And it was really fascinating experience and experiment, because I'm only, generally on Instagram, I'm very active, but I am there maybe 3 posts a week. So I went from 3 posts a week to 2 brand new pieces of content a day for 30 days. So I was like, holy crap, talk about overwhelm. So what I want to do is I'm going to walk you through that whole process and what I did so that I wasn't overwhelmed and that I didn't just go, okay, this is ridiculous. I'm not doing this anymore. So I'm just going to stop. I just kept on going and kept on going. And I have to tell you guys, by the time I got done with that, I truly believe that is some of the best content that I have ever created. And so that's one of the things that we're going to talk about today. I'm going to walk through that whole process, but I'm also going to share with you how you can set up this process for you and what you've been doing. For those of you who have never met me before, since about 2010, I was teaching workshops at the National Entrepreneur Center in Orlando. I was teaching like once a quarter, with the exception of summer quarter, like 5 classes. So for like 10 years, I've taught about 125 classes. I worked with hundreds of different business owners. So I'm not just about coaches. I'm not just about, products. I have talked to all kinds of people. So when I am able to answer any of your questions, by all means, don't feel like, well, I'm not a coach or I'm not a consultant. She can't help me. Trust me, I have done all types of businesses and all types of folks. I actually have 2 businesses. I've got my social media consulting, which was part of the why I was teaching the workshops, but then there's also the Create Your Business, which I guess you guys get all the time, all that information about that I started in 2018. So what I was trying to tell you all is as I was working on this, I kept going and going and going. And I was like, okay, I got to stop. I got to stop, because I was basically turning this into like a half day workshop, and nobody wants that. So what I ended up doing is I realized this may end up being a monthly series. So what I'm going to do today is I'm basically going to lay down the foundation. And then next month, I'm going to take one piece of what I talked about today, and I'm going to expand upon it. And so the month after that, I'm going to take another piece and I'm going to expand upon it, so on and so forth. There's a good chance that this will probably go like 6 months based upon the amount of content that I was creating as I was working on this. So as I continue to work through this and continue to share all this with you guys, please watch your inbox for more details. I'm just working through this. I pretty much know the date of my next one, which is going to be October 19th, where I'm going to do this amazing mind map. This is one of the things that I did for my brainstorm content ideas. And I'm going to share this with you guys next month. If you've never done a mind map before to brainstorm your content ideas, you're definitely going to want to show up for this one. And if you've ever been to any of my workshops, one of the things that I highly encourage you to do is what I call think out loud, because everybody here is some way representing a business, some way supporting, their content online. So if I've got questions that I'm asking you and you want to share them in the chat, by all means, share them in the chat. If you need to raise your hand and you want to ask me a question, you need me to stop, you want me to go back a slide, you want to talk something through with me. We're such a small group here today, so by all means do that. But think out loud, because there's a good possibility that something that you're thinking about, that you were wanting to, go through and maybe think through, there's a good possibility that you might be helping somebody else, that somebody else could be thinking about this thing too. So think out loud a little bit and share with the other people that are going to be here. All right. So let me jump into this. One of the things that's going to happen every single month when I go through this is I'm going to talk about the science of this, because when I started the Create Your Business program, yes, it's about content, but it's like, oh my gosh, everybody else is doing content. Everybody's talking about content. What makes me different and unique? It's my process. The way that I help people with their content has everything to do with what I refer to as the creative insight process. So I'm going to share some things with you right now to get you to start thinking differently. Okay. So one of the things that I like to talk about when it comes to the creative insight process is this. Most of us believe that things are happening outside of us as opposed to because of us. We spend about 80% of our lives reacting to stress, reacting to things, and we've trained our brains and our bodies to live in reactive mode to what's happening outside of us. And how this is connected to your content is this. How many of us are in Facebook groups and we're seeing all these people talk about, oh, I've done this, and oh, I've done this, and this, and this, and this works. So we're like, I need to do that. And somebody in another, talks on a YouTube channel about how this is what we're doing on TikTok, and this has gotten me, 1 million views. I need to do that. So we always think that there's something outside of us that we need to be doing, instead of looking inside of us and think about what is it that we want to be doing. And that is one of the things that I changed last year. If you guys read my emails, which I know you have, because that's why you're here, because the only place that I promoted this was my emails. I went through a lot of stuff last year. I mean, a lot of stuff. Actually, it's been like the last 2 years, and thankfully it wasn't COVID related. It had to do everything with my personal life, with my business, with my family, and all kinds of things. And I just went through these thing where I just like tore everything down. And I said to myself, what makes me happy? And I started to rebuild my business based upon what makes me happy, not what was everybody in the Facebook group was talking about, what was everybody over here doing, what was everybody on a TikTok video talking about. It was what made me happy inside of me, not what was going on outside of me. So I want to stress that to you guys as you start really thinking about your content. But one of the things that helped me get to that place of what made me happy is something that Einstein calls combinatory play. When Einstein would get stuck and he didn't know what to do, he would play the violin. And when he was struggling with his math problems, he would do something creative. He would work on the other side of his brain. So here's where I get all sciencey on you guys. We mostly as business owners function in the left side of our brain. This is where the analytical part is. This is where where Einstein was dealing with his math problems and trying to figure out if E really does equal MC squared. So what he would do was he would function in the right side of his brain, where he was doing something creative, like he was playing the violin. And I'm going to share with you some other things. I'm not asking you to learn how to play the violin, by the way, but I'm asking you to do something inside of you, not outside of you, where you are not ignoring your problems, but you're choosing to act differently. And when I want you to choose to act differently, I want you to choose to think about how you can do something creative with your time, as opposed to sitting there struggling over and over and over again in this left side, left side, left side, left side. So we've got both sides of our brain that's functioning off of us, right? But there's another part of our brain. There's lots of parts of our brain, and I'm going to get to all of that. Trust me, you guys are going to know so much about your brain by the time this series is over. You're going to be like having these conversations. People are going to look at you like, how did she know that? Or how did he know that? So there's the prefrontal cortex of our brain. That was really hard for me to say. I don't know. Let me try that again. The prefrontal cortex of our brain. It's right here, back behind our forehead. This is the part of our brain that does planning, decision-making, problem solving. It actually is the part of our brain that creates what they call neural pathways in the brain. And this is where we come up with how we know how to drive home from the grocery store without even realizing that we've done it. You know, that the thing that we do every single time. I like to use that example of brushing your teeth. We all know how to brush our teeth. Do you wake up in the morning and you think to yourself, when I go to brush my teeth, I'm going to start on the right side, then I'm going to go to the left, I'm going to go to the top. You don't. You just brush your teeth, because that's what the neural pathways in your brain have showed you to do. And so it allows you to develop these habits. And these habits help us go into what I refer to as autopilot. The same thing happens with your content development. The same thing is always happening. Maybe you sit down and you're like, okay, I'm on Facebook and I do the same thing and I do the same post and then I talk to the same people on Facebook. And then I come over here and then I do a couple of reels on Instagram and I just don't understand, why is this happening? Why is nothing going on? Because you've developed these habits and you're going into autopilot. And you go over and over and over and over again. And what's that expression? You know, the definition of crazy is it, you know, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. You can't expect different results when you go into autopilot. So when you start to do something creative and you disrupt the prefrontal cortex and where it wants to go into autopilot, you disrupt those patterns. And when you start to allow these new thoughts and habits to develop, that's when these ideas come to you. And I promise you, this is exactly what happened to me. Once I got out of my fog and I started picking myself up from the rubble and said, oh my God, I've made a mess here. Now what am I going to do? I started going through pieces and pieces and parts, trying to figure out what it was that made me happy. What was inside of me that made me happy? What kind of content that I wanted to create? And I did this when I was being creative. So one of my favorite quotes is by the poet Henry David Thoreau, who says, as a single footstep will not make a path on earth, so a single thought will not make a pathway in the mind. To make a deep physical path, we walk again and again. And to make a deep mental path, we must think over and over the kinds of thoughts we wish to dominate our lives. So I'm going to share this process with you about how to use creativity to make that deep path within your brain so you can learn a different way to create your content. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, everybody. I had to throw that in there just as a joke. Okay. All right, so let's find our focus. So for those of you who've spent any time with me, you've probably seen these slides before, but it never hurts to see them again. and to think about it again and again, especially when I just shared with you all that information. You're coming from a different place right now. So I want you to find your focus. This is one of the best Venn diagrams that I've ever seen about finding your purpose. Stuff you're great at, the stuff you love, the world needs it. And that's your purpose right there in the middle. If you've never spent any time doing this, I highly recommend that you take a screenshot right now and spend some time working through this on your own. Because one of the things that you're going to do when you think about your focus here is what makes you come alive. What are your strengths? Where do you add the greatest value? And that's what I ended up doing. I had to sit with myself and says, what makes me come alive? I love teaching. I really love teaching. And heck, I love talking. And quite honestly, one of the things I decided to do was start a YouTube channel. So I'm working on that right now, and I'm going to release that to you guys when everything is ready and good to go. What are my strengths? Oh, my strengths is definitely content development. So I had to focus on that. It wasn't just about building your business, because I don't know what the heck I'm talking about when it comes to accounting. I certainly don't know what the heck I'm talking about with anything legal with your business. My strength, my core is content development. And that's where I add the greatest value to people. So think about these questions as you're thinking about what your purpose is. And when we develop our content, this is how we have to find our focus. This is where we start, because where I think a lot of us keep starting from is we want to be everything and everything and everything and everything and everything. And then your content becomes random, this and this and this and this. But there's a way that you can find this focus, and you can turn all of these things that you like to do into one idea. And that's when I came up with that whole rebranded idea of the Create Your Business, tapping into your creativity to never run out of content ideas again. When that sentence came, it was just such a light bulb moment of, that's just it. It is so simple. How did I not see that after all of these years? But when I finally saw that, I found my focus. I totally found my focus. So if you're still struggling with this, ask yourself, what are you passionate about? What topic do I have experience with? What's the message that I want to get out? And my favorite question I always say to people, especially when I'm teaching my blogging class, what could I write or do videos about for a year without running out of ideas or energy? I mean, that's a huge thing, because you can come up with this great idea, but if you can only come up with 2 or 3 thoughts about it, it's not going to ever, create the whole thing about what you wanted to do with your focus. So now I'm going to jump into, you're going to see me go back and forth. And so right now I want to jump into how did I use that information to do this 30-day Create Better Content Challenge? I had to find my focus. And I asked myself the question, why I do what I do. What is it that I do? And it's not just to make money. I mean, we all want to make money. But why do I do what I do? I asked myself that question. It was content development. And I said, yeah, watch your inbox for the details for this next month. I can't wait for this one. This mind map thing is going to totally blow your mind how this works. But wait till that next one. I like teaching content development. I love coming up with ideas for people. Kate was in my workshop last month where I worked with just three individuals. And we just spent the time talking about ideas. And I just love that. That is the best thing ever for me. That is my focus. That is the thing that lights me up. So what is the thing that lights you up? What is the thing that makes you want to just, share it with as many people as you possibly can? That's your focus. So for me, I realized it was the content development, teaching people how to create better content. And then I wanted to add in the do something creative. And I got this place because what was going on with me as I was talking about the whole tapping into your creativity, I would constantly get this question. Well, I don't paint and I don't draw and I don't write. I don't understand. What do you want me to do? So I was like, okay, I know what you want me to do. You want me to tell you what to do. So Not only did I come up with 30 pieces of content about content development, I created 30 pieces of content to show you, if you did one thing a day for 30 days, 30 different things that you could do that were creative. And not once did I tell you to paint. Not once did I tell you that you needed to write a book. And so if you haven't been to my Instagram account, please go check it out. You can see all of the different things that I'm telling you that you could be doing. And most of them, almost all of them, were free. They don't even require you to go down to, Michael's or any place to go buy anything. And the last thing that I wanted to make sure that I did with this Create Better Content Challenge was my call to action. What was my next step? How was I going to get all of these people who are paying attention to my challenge? And let me assure you, the numbers on my Instagram had gone up. I mean, it just went through the roof. I couldn't believe how many new people had found me, new, people that I'm now communicating with and engaging with on their Instagram accounts, and they're engaging with me on mine. So I thought to myself, what's the next step? Because if you're going to spend all of this time creating all of this content, you want to make sure, what is the next step? What do I want them to do? For me, it was, I wanted them to go to my website and download my free opt-in. I have a new 3-part opt-in, which takes you through the idea of the whole create your business, teaching you how to tap into your creativity. And it had real world, workbooks, which you can actually download and you can work through. And so that was my next step. So I had to just, it wasn't just so much that I wanted to create this content to get all these people to come see me on Instagram and to grow my Instagram account. I wanted them to make sure that there was a next step. You always want to make sure, what is my next step? So guys, take a look. If you have not gone to my Instagram account, please, by all means, I'm at Create Your Biz on Instagram, and just scroll down and you'll start to see the ones that say day this, day 3, day 30, whatever. Scroll on down there and you're going to see all 30 of these creative activities for you to do. So I want you to engage in this just a little bit. What I ended up doing when I was tapping into my own creativity was, it started during COVID. And then when COVID kind of, I don't want to say COVID's gone, because it's not really gone, but we're not in a place where we're in lockdown anymore. We're able to move ourselves a little bit more freely around the city. But it started during that point where I started to walk in my dog. And then sometimes I would just go walking by myself. And I just started going to new places around my city, going, I've never been here. I've lived here, I don't know, 30 something years of my life. I've never been here before. How pretty is this? And so it was amazing that I would be walking in these new places and seeing these different things. And as I'm enjoying myself and being outside and looking, what is that flower? Why is that such a different green color? Look at that tree. I was opening up the right side of my brain, and I was disrupting the pattern in my prefrontal cortex. I was really doing a number on my brain here. And the ideas started coming at me. So when I was sitting there in my office trying to sort through the rubble and the mess that I had made, I couldn't see out of it. But when I started to move myself, physically move myself, and to do something different and to disrupt that pattern, that's when the ideas started to flow. I also started painting again. I had been painting as a child, and even in my 20s a little bit I painted. Not that I think any of my pieces are going to be hanging, in a museum or anything like that. It's purely for my own benefit, my own enjoyment. So I started painting again. And that was another thing, that I would sit down with my paints and I would have a thought in my head going, what do you want to do for your new opt-in? You're going to rework your opt-in. What should you do in your opt-in? And as I was painting, ideas were coming to me. So I would always recommend to you, if you're going to be doing this creative thinking, come to it with an idea, a question, a thought, something you're struggling with, and think about what you could be doing to disrupt that pattern, to disrupt the pattern in your prefrontal cortex. Be open to this flow, because I'm telling you, your brain is going to react just like mine did. I say keep a notebook and pen or a mobile app, whatever. I would actually, I did keep notebooks and pen, but I also used Evernote. So I would pull up an Evernote, especially if I was on a walk and something would come to me. I actually had like a whole folder of just idea file and just people, I would just, write in my notes really quick because something's going to come up. I guarantee it for you because this is the way that our brain works. So it's not just me. So if you need a little, let me help you out here a little bit. If you're not sure where to start, I want you to screenshot this right now. And next time you're ready to do something creative, ask yourself this question. When did you first feel your passion for starting your business or the work that you're doing right now? What were you doing? How does this work light you up? And then just do stream of conscious writing. If you're not familiar with what that means, it's just write. Don't think, don't judge. This is not anything that's going to be graded. Nobody's going to see it. It's just going to be, let the ideas move out of your head and onto the paper or onto a Word document, however you like to write. Because you're going to just keep going and you're going to start to feel your body. You're actually going to feel inside of your body kind of tingling with excitement because your body is just thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm doing something different. And I just wanted to bring this up here, guys. For those of you who are on the call and you are all watching the replay as well. If you want to learn more about this and you really want to dig into your content development, the Create Your Business boxes, $20 off on your subscription plan. You just have to put the word create in lowercase. And basically what it is it's a DIY program. So every single month, you're going to get a workbook into your inbox. It's going to help you work through your content. And then you're going to get creative tools that show up to your doorstep. I do have a digital program. If you don't want any digital tools and you just want to buy your own, or if you've got a craft room and you've got your own stuff right now. But that's a different subscription plan. So this is just for the boxes that get delivered to your home. Just wanted to bring that up. All right. So I know that those of you who are with me before, you're going to know what I'm talking about when I say content buckets. Content buckets become your best friend. I think a lot of times when we get started on our content and we sit down, we don't go, I'm hoping that this shows up. We don't start here or here. We go straight to the social media or blog post. We don't even think about anything like this. And so this is actually the content buckets. If you will spend time, I always say, if you only have like 1 hour for your entire week to work on your content, work on your content buckets first. Put that plan together, put it in action before you start your social media or your blog posts or your videos or your TikToks or anything else that you're going to be working on. So let me show you how this works. Your content buckets are basically anywhere between 4 to 6 categories. And those are the 4 to 6 categories, depending upon who you are and what you're going to do. They're the major topics, the subjects that you're sharing, what your expertise, the common questions you get asked all the time. That's a really important piece because remember when let's back up for whatever, how many slides that was. When I talked about my 30-day challenge, one of the questions that I get asked all the time was, I don't paint. I'm not writing a novel. What do you want me to do? Literally, I would get that question. People would say to me, what do you want me to do? And I'd say, well, do this, do this, do this, do this. So my content became, I'm not just going to tell you what I think you should do. I'm now going to direct you to my Instagram account. So I'm sending you to content that I've already created. And I'm going to answer that question for you. Go on there. I've got 30 activities that I'm showing you right here about what you can do. And all of them are free. So there's no excuse not to do it. Now, why you're not going to do it, that's a whole other thing. What's a popular topic that your community engages within your niche? Those are the types of things. And when you answer these questions and you go through this process, you're going to start to see things kind of overlap. One of the things that I always do is I would have people answer these 3 questions, answer this question. And then as you're looking at your answers, you're going to start to see how, okay, well, this overlaps into this and this overlaps into this. And that's the point that you start to get those 4 to 6 categories worked out. It's a little process that you have to go through, and it really requires a little bit more digging on your end than I'm going to be doing right now. But that's something that we're going to do next month with the mind map. But this is a really important piece here, is to have these content buckets. So let me give you an example. With the Create Better Content Challenge, these were the buckets that I created. I talked about content strategy. I talked about a content calendar, because that's like your best way to be organized. And I couldn't just tell you to do a strategy and a plan without how you're going to be organized in it. The social media productivity coach in me would not have allowed that to happen. And then they also wanted to talk about repurposing and evergreen content, because I think that's really super important. And a lot of us think that we need to be constantly creating every single day. But I think that once we create some really, really good content, we could find a way to repurpose it. And especially if we understand what the evergreen content is and how it can help you with SEO, how it can help you generate more traffic to your website. I thought that those are really important challenges. And of course, the 30 creative activities, answering what do you want me to do? And those 4 things became my content buckets. And I used these 4 content buckets, and you see how they're just really simple. I'm not, talking about, the War and Peace novel of everything. I just need you to be real specific like this: content strategy, the calendar, repurpose, evergreen, and and creative activities, my 4 buckets. And so once I was able to create these 4 buckets, that was the starting point. So then I could do my subcategories. So if we use repurpose and evergreen content for my subcategories, I talked about how the reason you're going to use it is because it saves time. It creates SEO content. And then I even did a couple of posts about what makes evergreen content evergreen. Why do we talk about evergreen content? What's the point of it? So I even created a couple of posts explaining what evergreen content was, what's the 2, there's one post about the 2 elements that are involved in it. So I went from there. And these are actual Instagram posts that when you go to my Instagram account, you'll scroll down and you read it. What content should you reshare? How to repurpose your content to reach more people, and 2 elements that make your content evergreen. So do you see how I started with the buckets, went to the subcategory, and then from the subcategory, then I created my Instagram content. I didn't start with Instagram content. I started at the top. And so when you start at the top and you really figure out what your content buckets are, it really helps with the flow of the sub content and the subcategory, and then what you're going to be posting. So like I said earlier, content buckets are your best friend. And if you only have an hour a week to work on your content, do this. This is the thing that's going to help you, because this is going to give you the path. It's going to give you the direction. It's going to show you where to go and how to create this content. All right. So let's get out of this overwhelm. So I showed you a little bit of that process of what I did with my content buckets and how I pulled that all together. But before I do that, I want to share a little story with you about Facebook ads. Just a little story. And when I was ready to start marketing the Create Your Business program, I paid for some Facebook ads. The first 2 weeks, I made $1,000. At the end of the month, I made $3,000. And the next month, I made $5,000. You like that little story, don't you? Because it's a story. It's a story. Because that's not how this works. That's not how social media works. That's not how marketing works. And that's definitely not how content works. So anytime you hear somebody talking about that and they tell you a story that they made 1,000 and 5,000 and 3,000 and all that, I'm not saying, don't say that Penny's saying that you're lying. I'm not saying that. But I am saying is that is not how this works. Content is not a big payoff. It is a series of small steps, small changes, and small bits of attentions to action that you are going to be successful. When you do hear the story about the people who have talked about, I listened to a podcast about subscription boxes because of the subscription box element that's in the Create Your Business. And I hear the stories about this one particular person who had opened up her subscription box. And in the first month, she sold 600 people. And it was amazing because she hadn't expected to sell 600 people. And she was so excited about it. And she was telling the story. And what I loved about this particular podcast that I listened to is the way that the person who interviews her is very, very sure to make sure that she says, now I want to tell everybody why you got those 600 subscribers. How long have you been doing this? And that person says, I have been doing YouTube videos for 4 years. 4 straight years this person's been doing YouTube videos. And she said, I slowly built myself up to like 2,000 viewers, not 20,000, not 200,000. I think it was like about 2,000, 2,500 people. So these people have been following her for 4 years. And it took 4 years. And then when she released it, and then she even asked, would you guys be interested if I put this in a subscription box? Would you be interested? And they were like, yeah. So she opened it up. And that first month, of course, she sold 600. But she sold 600 because for 4 years, she had been doing a series of small steps, small changes, small bits of attention. I'm not telling you that you have to do this in 4 years, and I'm not telling you that this is what you're going to do, but I want you all to accept the fact that it works when you're being social. And I want you all to know that content development is not a quick fix. It is not some big payoff. It is not something you're going to snap your fingers and all of a sudden you're going to be, having millions and millions of dollars in your bank account. It happens when you are consistent. It happens when you take your time and find your focus and share that content and really provide value. 4 years, she provided value. I think she had an Etsy shop too along the way. But that was basically her business. It wasn't like she set out to be a subscription box person. It just kind of fell into it, but she was very happy about it right now. But 4 years it took her to get to that place. So I want you to think about this over and over again as I share some more of this information with you, because this works when you work it. To make connections with customers, you have to spend time in there. So for those of you who are just using the scheduling programs and you're just popping in there every now and then just to, click a like or to say, I totally agree. That's not how this works. I have been teaching social media since 2007. I showed you before, I had worked for 10 years at the National Entrepreneur Center teaching classes. And I'm going to tell you right now that if you really want more engagement on your Facebook business page or engaging with more LinkedIn connections, if you're not in there using the site, nobody's going to see your posts when you're trying to share your story or your blog post or your promotions or the next great thing you're selling. You have to be there. And that's the other thing, going back to that part about inside of you versus outside of you. What lights you up? I'm going to be honest with you. Facebook does not light me up. I'm on Facebook right now. And the only reason I'm on Facebook is because I do volunteer work for New Hope for Kids, which is an organization here in the Orlando area that helps kids who are going through grief, that have lost a parent or somebody significant in their life. And the only time that I go into Facebook twice a week is to do work for them. I volunteer my time and I update that. If I wasn't volunteering for them, I would probably never be on Facebook. Never. That doesn't light me up. And so one of the things that I did was I looked at social media and said, what makes me happy? Instagram really makes me happy. I love Instagram. I cannot believe sometimes how far I fall down the rabbit hole of looking at golden retriever videos because I have a golden retriever. I love golden retriever videos and I just fall down the rabbit hole, and I will look at that all night long. I love LinkedIn. I think that LinkedIn is really amazing and it's a really great way to meet other business owners and engage in conversation. I still love Pinterest. I'm not on it as much as I should be. Um, so I want you to think about this. If you are not on this site and you're not actively engaging in it, people are not going to see your stuff. So the way that the content's really, really going to work is if it's something that lights you up and something that you want to go to and something that you fall down the rabbit hole, because you're just there all the time. That's when it works. It works when you work it. And that's a really important piece of this. And that's why this is the foundation workshop that I'm doing right now. This is a really important piece that I want you guys all to know. It works when you're being social. Why do you think they call it social media? Because you want to be social. You don't want to just sit there and click likes and, I got to get in and got to get out. So it's really important for you to think about when you're planning out your week. I actually block off time. There are days on my calendar when this day and this day is when I'm going to log in. I know I'm going to do this. I know I'm going to log in and do this. I know I'm going to log in and do this. I schedule in time every single week so I can log in to these particular social platforms that I'm on. So I'm not just posting. I want to comment. I want to like, I want to read stuff. I mean, I have found, blog posts, and then I'll read the blog post and then I'll go back to their, like on LinkedIn, and then I'll go back and say, I really love that second, piece of advice in there to show them that I read your blog post. It really, touched me, it really hit home with me or whatever. That's when it works. It's those small steps. It's those pieces of action. But here's the thing, if you don't want to be there, it's not going to help you. So don't just be everywhere to be everywhere. Be in the places that bring you joy. Be in the places that light you up. Be in the places that you want to be there. And that's when it's going to work. That's why it works for these people. That's why it worked for that one woman who was, for 4 years on YouTube. That's what made her happy. And that's what she did. And her happiness translated into, by the time that she had provided so much value for these people, that when she opened up the subscription box, and that first month was like 600 people. Of course it was. It made perfect sense. It wasn't like she just showed up. She took the time to be there and it made her happy. So I want you to stop looking outside of you and what everybody else is doing and what all these people in the Facebook groups and are talking about. Look inside of you and what makes you happy and the things that you like to do. And it also works when you start to come from this sharing from a deeper, more meaningful place, when you're able to help others, like the example I'm sharing you. So I want you to think about this. What kind of posts can you share that come from a place of sharing value, connections, and not just trying to make your next sale? If I wanted you to go to my website, what do I want you to do? Don't want you to buy? Of course I want you to buy. But my thing that I want to do is I wanted you to get, my opt-in. I wanted you to get on my email list, because I know that when you get on my email list and you read my emails, I become very transparent in my emails. You all know that because you are on my email list. You know how I can get. Sometimes I go off on a tangent and go into a stuff about my son. I come from a place of sharing value as well. But I want you to think about that. It's not just about how to make your next sale. Okay, for another creative activity. If you wanted to try the first one, that's great, but I've got another one for you too, because it wouldn't be me if I didn't let you do more creative stuff. So let's dig a little bit more into this imagination. My favorite question that I've always asked: if time or money wasn't an issue, what would you create? If time or money wasn't an issue, what would you create? And there's no judgment, because nobody's going to see it but you right now. I challenge you to set a timer for 5 minutes and think about that question. And what big ideas would happen for you? Imagine yourself creating this new product, service, program, something. Think about who you're creating this for. Is this something new for your business? What conversations are going on in your community around this idea? Set a timer for 5 minutes. Go the whole 5 minutes. Don't just stop at 3. Keep going. Because you know what's really interesting is those first few minutes, they're always the easy ones. They're like, oh, I could do this. I'll just create a program. I could do this. I could, do another online course, because that's what we need, more online courses. What would you do with your online course to be different? What could you bring to the table that would make this an amazing online course, an amazing service, an amazing program, an amazing new challenge, 30-day challenge that you could have people do? What could you create? Go that whole 5 minutes and think about it. I guarantee you, by the time you get to about the 4th minute, the really, really big ideas will come to you. Because remember, if time and money is not an issue, so don't allow that to also get into your thoughts either. I don't have time to do this. I don't have the money to do this. Just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. Because I can guarantee you, by the time you hit the end of that 5 minutes, something amazing is going to come up. Try this out. I'll be curious. And if you guys try this out, hit reply on your email and send it to me and let me know, so I can see what you were working on or what came up for you. I'd love to see that. I love creative ideas like this. So the thing about this creative exercise and why it's so important, and I wanted to share this, is the actual exercise itself helps you move into a state in your beta waves to uncover insights with your answers. And it's also, we're talking about content here. It's going to help you get really specific about some marketing plans that you've been struggling with. I promise you on this. Be open to that flow, the unique ideas as you let your mind wander. Keep your notebook, your pen, mobile app, whatever it is. I use Evernote, I use mobile, whatever. The ideas are going to come up. I promise you, it's going to be fascinating. Like I said, if something comes up for you all, please, by all means, hit reply to one of the emails that I've sent you and send it back to me and let me know. I'd love to see this. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up here. I'm going to show you my behind the scenes posting, which I had promised you that I would do. So how did I translate what I worked out in my content buckets to stop feeling so overwhelmed? I mean, it's one thing to sit there and go, oh my God, that's great. I got those content buckets, content strategy, content calendar, the evergreen, repurpose, and my creative activities. That's great. I got it all. But now I don't have to do 30 pieces of content. I need to do 60 pieces of content. I was doing 3 a week, which is 12. I went from 12 pieces of content to 60 pieces of content in 1 month. There was a moment where I was like, holy crap, what did I do? I did feel the overwhelm. I did feel that just a little bit. And I took a step back and I said, I can do this. I can do this. I know how this works, because the productivity in me came out. So what I want to do is I'm going to share this part with you. So I started looking at my content and I tried to break it down by answering these questions here. What is this content doing? I solve these kinds of problems. I wanted to make sure that I was bringing value. So it wasn't just content for the pure sake of just saying, I did it. I got a piece of content up there. I really wanted to make sure that everything that I wrote was providing value. So I asked myself these questions. I solved these kinds of problems. What was my call to action? My call to action was always to go to my website to download my opt-in. Because when I want people to go to my website, I wanted them to download my opt-in. It could be anything for you guys. It could be, I want them to read my blog post. I want them to go to my YouTube page. I want them to start following me on TikTok. I want them to, when I go to my website, I want them to get on my email list. Be sure that everything that you're creating leads back to that call to action. Again, it does you no good to have all of this random content out there. And at the end of it, I'm so excited about who you are and I'm following you and I'm engaging. And now what? Make sure there's a now what? Now what? Make sure that there's that piece of it. Don't ever miss out on that piece of it, because you could be losing out on some really great opportunities to connect with potential customers. It's really about understanding your customers' pain points. Excuse me. And how you can share that your product or your service is that solution that they're looking for. So come from that place of value, come from that place of understanding their pain points. For me, their pain points were content's overwhelming. I don't know what I should be doing. Some days I just post something. Some days I don't even post at all because I don't know what to say. So that was the pain points that I was working through. And that's where the content started to develop from that place. I always like to say, if you don't know what to say, pretend like you're writing a note to a business friend. You're not selling. You are not selling to your business friend. This is not a sales pitch. You're just explaining what you do and how you help your community. If that place right there, if you could just write that note to the business friend, that will get you started. That's a good place. If you ever just feel like you're just kind of stuck and you don't know where to go from there, that's the best place to start. Write a note to your business friend and say, hey, I just wanted to tell you about my product or my service. This is what it's doing, because I'm not selling you. I'm not doing a sales pitch. How would you speak to him or her? Think about it from that perspective. How did I get this all done? Literally went from 3 to 4 posts a week to 2 times a day for 60 days in a row. Weekends, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 60 pieces of content, brand new pieces of content, by the way. Everyone got worked. I mean, brand new images, brand new posts, everything. I'm just getting exhausted just thinking about it. What I did was I set up an Instagram posting system. I created my own personal posting system. So I looked at this piece by piece. On Instagram, it was all about the image. I had to create these images that were going to get somebody to stop when they were scrolling and to come over and read it. I had to find a way to put all of this copy together in one place. I decided to do it in Google Docs. I also utilized my Dropbox. And I want you to know, every single program that I've used was free. So I am not here to sell you on, use this program. It'll cost you $49 a month, blah, blah, blah. Nope. Everything that I did was free. I used all the free programs. So this doesn't cost you anything. So stop using that as an excuse. I don't have the money. I didn't spend any money on this. So I wanted to make that a very big point, because that seems to be one of the things that people tell me. I don't want to spend money. I don't want to do this with no money. So let me take that excuse away from you. All right. So Canva, I'm just using the free version of this. What I did was I found a couple of templates, and because I knew that I was doing 2 a day, one was going to be for content and one was going to be for my creative activity. So I did one template for the content and one template for the creative activity. I ended up actually doing several different kinds of templates, because one of the things that I do, and I use I forgot to put this in here. I use the free version of Planoly, so I can see what my grid was looking like, and I would upload my grid, so I knew there was times when I just needed a space, and there was times when it was okay to put some, text in there. I didn't want it to be all texty. I wanted it to make sure that it flowed. Sorry, I forgot to put Planoly in there. So I ended up finding a couple of templates, and the templates are really, really important, because what I ended up doing with the templates is you're able to save your text and your layouts into the Canva program. So then I ended up just switching out the copy, and I could use Canva images, but I also, if I couldn't find one on Canva that I wanted, I'm also a big fan of Unsplash, and I would just upload my own. So then it became this process of just changing out the text, changing out the picture, and saving it. Change out text, change out picture. And it turned into, from the first couple of weeks, I think I was probably spending, I don't know, maybe like half hour, an hour, 2 hours or whatever, for a couple of posts, to by the time I hit the last week of the month, I was knocking that stuff out. I could do like 2 or 3 posts in under 30 minutes. And that was image, post, my post copy, all of the stuff that I needed to do. So it was really important for me is to set set the tone of what I wanted to see and how, so I really spent some time initially at first thinking about my templates. And I'll show you some of them. Again, when you go to the Instagram, you're gonna, you'll see that this was what I had. I had the, specifically, I wanted the creative activities to have the days on them and to have a certain font and have a certain look to them. So I just used one, what's the word, file folder in Canva to create all of them. So I was able to just, you just hit the duplicate. So then you've got your font saved in there, you've got your layout saved in there, and I just switch out the picture and change out the text. And so when you get that all set up, not only is it really, really good for quick turnaround and to help you create a routine with this, it also allows you to be branding an image. When you can have that same look over and over again, when people were scrolling through Instagram, they were like, oh, okay, it was easier to spot that this was from me because they had the same look about them. They had the same font with them. They had the same flow of it. So it was branded. It was easy to use. And because of the way that our human brains work, the more frequently that I was able to use these templates and I was able to move in and out of, text, image, text, image, text, image, I could create them faster because the more that we do something, the quicker we learn it, the faster we become at it, which is why it was taking me a couple of hours at the beginning of the month to under 30 minutes at the end of the month. So the more you do something like that, the quicker you become at it. So the Google Docs. I thought it was really important that I had all of my content in one place, because one of the things that I wanted to do was when I really looked at the problems I was solving, the pain points that I was solving, I wanted the content to flow into, if you were just going to read every single one of my posts, which I would be awesome if you did, but I can't, I don't know if anybody really did that, but I wanted that if somebody was really to just fall down the rabbit hole and to read all of my posts, I wanted them to flow. I didn't want to talk about, evergreen white net one moment and then a content calendar. If I was going to talk about the content calendar, I did like 3 or 4 posts on it. And I took different pieces of the content calendar and how could I break it down? So I wanted it all to flow. And when I put it in the Google Doc, I could read it all and I had it all dated. So I could really scroll down and I could see how my content, went from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and how it all made sense that way. And when I put it all in one place, as opposed to it being in different areas, it also allowed me that if I was going to be posting from my phone, which sometimes I ended up doing, like on the weekends, I would end up posting from my phone. I just could copy it straight from my phone. You go into the Google Doc on my phone, copy it, and I could upload it right to Instagram. And of course, that takes like a couple of minutes or whatever to do all of that, which was one of the reasons I used the Dropbox. It allowed me to keep all my images in one place too. So again, if I was going to, upload the images from my phone to Instagram, because you can also, I will also use Instagram on my computer as well. So I could use it from my computer, but it always allowed me, like on the weekends, I didn't have to turn on my computer just to upload my, my post for the day, or my 2 posts for the day, because remember I was doing 2, I was doing a content and I was doing a creative. So I put it in my Dropbox. So I kept all of the images in one place. And I also, was able to see everything there together. Now, this was my way of doing this, and I'm just giving you examples on how this works. Okay, I always like to say, there's no right way, there's no wrong way, there's just your way. This is what worked for me. And I wanted to give you this behind the scenes look. So maybe you could take a look at this and go, maybe I'm not a Canva user. Maybe I like to use PicMonkey, or maybe I'm not much of a Dropbox user, or I use whatever, I use another process or whatever. I maybe want to put all of my content into Evernote or something like that. I'm not saying at all that this is the only end all be all way to do this. What I am saying is that these are some suggestions. And this is how I did this. And this is how I was able to create 60 pieces of content in 1 month and not lose my mind and get other things done and have client meetings and, work on other things for my business. And I wasn't just sitting here all day working on Instagram posts, which would have been ridiculous if that I had done that. But there's no right way. There's no wrong way. There's just your way. And I want you to understand that when I say that. The other things that I did every single week, sorry, talking too much, is at the end of the week, I would get out my journal and I would celebrate the baby steps that I took. I also would discover what I refer to as my energy times, and I set up work block dates. So I did a weekly review. This is what I would do on the Fridays. I did a weekly review where I would say to myself, what was my big wins this week? Meaning, just this week, not the whole thing. I was just trying to celebrate the little tiny steps. What were things that I had done? Even if it was, I got all the Instagram posts up and online and they look good. That could be a big win for me. Because I think a lot of times that we don't give ourselves that time to celebrate even the tiny little things that we're doing. We always want to just take a look at all this. This happened badly, and this is upsetting me, and this is going here, and we get all up in our head about that. But what if we spent some time just congratulating ourselves and a little pat on the back here, Penny, because you did it. So I would always put down what were my big wins this week. And I would answer, what was a surprise accomplishment that you did this week? Sometimes my surprise accomplishment was, especially about the middle of it, my goodness, that didn't take 2 hours. That only took me 45 minutes. What the heck? I'm getting good at this. Sometimes a surprise accomplishment would be, you're 5 days ahead. That's great. You're not, up against the board every single day. And then I would ask myself, what are 3 action items that I can do to help me with what I'm struggling with this week? And I would always want to, be honest with myself. I'm struggling with this. I'm struggling with this. What's 3 action items I would do? Instead of getting all up my head and going, you're really, nah. I created just thinking about action. What's action I can take? And that always helps to get me out of that mindset of wanting to feel yucky and icky and all that stuff. If I can just do an action step, and I'd say, okay, so I'm going to start my week. I've got these 3 action steps that I told myself I was going to do. And sometimes my big wins the next week would be, I did all 3 of my action steps, so think about it from that perspective but I would highly encourage you, whether you answer my questions or whether you have your own, it doesn't matter. But I would encourage you to spend some time doing like a weekly review like this, just to really take a look at what you're working on. And the big thing about this, I want to stay here for just a second more before I move on to the next one, is it's also going to help you become more aware. Am I doing this because it lights me up and I'm still happy about this? Or am I doing this because I think I need to be on Facebook because all these people in the Facebook group are telling me? When you start to dig into these moments, I should say, when you do your weekly review, you can keep yourself on track to make sure that you're really doing something that's making you happy. So I wanted you to say that. Yeah, somebody post something here. Let me check here. Oh, okay. Nope, no problem at all. I understand. Thank you for letting me know. The other thing that I did was I discovered my energy time. I've talked about this years ago, but I want to bring it up again because this was another thing that kind of came up during this time. What is a time of day when I feel the most productive? Are there days of the week that I have more time to get more work done? And I prioritized doing this content development, doing the Instagram work like I would a client meeting. I would literally block this off. So I know, I'm just making something up, a Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. I was feeling, my most productive at that point. That was the time that I would block this off. And this became, nothing else got done until this got done. If I gave myself, you're going to do 3 days in this block of time, which was 6 posts, I was going to do all 6 of those posts before I moved on to something else. And I didn't do this. I'm what you refer to as a midday kind of girl. I love 10 a.m. to 4. 10 a.m. to 4. I'm rocking. You try to get me at 7 in the morning or 5 o'clock at night. I mean, I'm like low energy, like you would not believe low energy. So I know myself enough not to sit here and tell myself at 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to be doing these Instagram posts, because I wouldn't have been feeling like it. I wouldn't have been able to get it done. I would have procrastinated. I would have made 1,000 excuses. So I want you all to take a look at your own time that you have, your own energy, and when you feel the most productive. And when you're going to be doing this content and you're going to really try to do this project and this stuff that you're going to be doing, try to work it in on those days of the week when you have more time to get things done, you're not feeling so rushed, and when you feel the most of your energy time. So it was a really big piece of the puzzle for me when I was able to create that energy time and know that during these times, and I got more stuff done because I was in my zone. I was totally in my zone. Like I said, I'm a midday kind of girl. And then what I would do, I would set up as work blocks. Some people set up the work blocks as, during this time, all I'm going to do is I'm going to create my images. I'm going to do 10 different images. And then the next work block, I'm going to create the content. I actually ended up doing both. I didn't separate the both of them because to me, one post consisted of an image and the content. And then I would do another image and content, another image and content. Again, everybody's different, but for me, that's what worked for me. I liked being able to write the content. And then from when I wrote the content, then I would help me pick out the image about what I wanted to put and then use the text on it. So it flowed a little bit easier for me like that versus trying to do all images one day, all content the next day. That's just worked well with me. Like I'm going to say again, there's no right way or wrong way to do this. There's just your way. So I'm only giving you some suggestions and recommendations about some of the things that I had actually done during this challenge and how I was able to accomplish so much in such a short period of time. So hopefully you'll be able to get some ideas and you'll be saying, oh, I could do this, or maybe I don't know about that one, but I'll definitely be able to do that one. And that is my point behind this, because there is no right way. There's no wrong way to do this. There is only your way, what your energy is, what your best times a day, when are you being productive, and how can you be successful with this? Okay. So if you want to continue working on this process, like I had said before, you can always subscribe to the Create Your Business program. That's $20 off any subscription plan. Just use the coupon code CREATE when you go there. And that's for any of the subscription plans, but it's the ones that come to your door, not the digital ones. I do have a digital version that if you have, 1,000 crafts and you have no interest in wanting anything else to show up at your house, and I totally get that. That's one of the reasons I did the digital version. By all means, do that. But the coupon code is just for the delivered boxes. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Anything come up that I shared? Anything that you want to ask me questions about with regards to the process that I created, with regards to the creative activities, my Instagram account, anything? Or was it just so much that I've overwhelmed you all? I'm thinking.
I want to find out then.
Yes, sir.
That the box which has got those I've seen a lot of stuff there for international community like me coming from Africa here in Zambia. Does it involve shipping and
oh, the box. I don't, I'm only in the United States, so you may end up wanting to go with the digital version. I'm only
I
able
see.
to,
And how much is the digital version?
it's only like $12 a month.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. Just go to createyourbiz.net and you'll see the different digital versions. But thank you for asking. I meant to say that. I should have said that because you had said earlier that you were out of the country. Unfortunately, because of shipping costs, I'm not able to ship outside of the country. I'm actually only continental United States, so I don't even ship to Hawaii or Alaska either. So you may want to take a look.
Well,
Go to the link and take a look at the digital. I think that might be helpful for you. But thank you for
exactly.
asking.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for asking. Anybody else? If I have no more questions, actually, I'm letting you go early. How about that? That's a rarity for me, isn't it? I normally go over. Okay. Well, I guess if you guys are good to go, then I will definitely want to say thank you so much for all of your time and for being a part of my community. And I hope this was helpful for you. Keep an eye on your inbox, and I will be letting you know when the next workshop is going to be. We're going to deep dive into the mind map and how to really brainstorm your content ideas. We may even do some more of me, sharing some ideas with you about how I can help you. Oh, thank you. You're welcome, Kate. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everybody. Thanks for coming. And I'm gonna go ahead and stop this. And thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate all of you for being here, part of my community. Thank you so much.